was that this gym would be used to attract adolescent boys into a different type of lifestyle, a lifestyle in which they could learn to harness their physicality with other approaches to be successful in life. Well, it turns out that two of the young men involved got in trouble, and there was a big manhunt for these guys, and they turned themselves into the founder versus the police. And from that point, the founder of the Better Boys Foundation decided that, you know, we have to offer kids more than just sports, more than just recreation. And so from that epiphany, Better Boys came to be known as an educational and cultural enhancement community-based organization. In other words, kids were taken on field trips to see downtown Chicago. Now this is back in the 60s, and you might think that, well, you know, this is the new millennium. It's probably not a need to take kids from the west side, roughly 15th and Pulaski, to see downtown Chicago, but every year in which we have field trips to Millennium Park, to the lake, to the shed, to the Field Museum, invariably you'll hear more than one kid say, "Are we still in Chicago? And where did this water come from?" So there is still isolation. And I reference that particular observation because one of the aspects of mental health or mental illness is the sense of isolation. Who do I turn to help me think about this? And so when kids have a sense of physical isolation, that is to say that all they know is their neighborhood, the school, the grocery store, they see the L and they see the buses on Pulaski and Roosevelt Road and Cermak, but they really don't know where they go or what happens when they, kind of like I suppose people back in the days of Columbus who didn't know what happens if a ship went beyond the horizon. Does it fall off the globe or what happens? Kids still have that concept. In any case, I want to talk a little bit about adolescence because I actually, believe it or not, one of the few adults that loves adolescents. I think they are just the most curious human being on the face of the earth, in part because they always challenge you, right? And so part of the task of being an adolescent is to get the attention of adults without really acting like you want their attention. So, i.e., it's a lot of shock value. So they use profanity, you know, rap music, oh, it's so profane, you know, you gotta put parental warnings on records, you know, because they're, you know, talking about body parts and that's right? So, no matter what you do, every generation of adolescents figures out a way to shock you. So the current, I think it's current, I don't know, the older you get, the least currency you understand. But the latest aspect is when boys have developed a clothing style in which their jeans, let's see, it's not at your waist, not at your hips, it's kind of like just above your knee. And so the pants come up to the knee, and what you see is their boxer shorts from basically the knee up to the waist, right? And you see it, and what do? You stare and you look. They've accomplished that particular goal of making you look shocking. That's what boys do. So what do girls do? Girls aren't going to be left behind. It appears that their new style is to wear pajamas. And you see girls wearing, particularly the bottoms, as a stylistic statement. It supersedes wearing slippers. It's very interesting because it accomplishes that aim demanding our attention, at the same time denying that they want our attention. And thus, that's in part the duality of being an adolescent. You're trying to figure out, can I become an adult? Because it's really kind of scary. It's really kind of scary to be an adult. That means that you have to take care of yourself, right? And so as much as kids suggest that they want to take care of themselves, they're really kind of hoping that you'll help them learn how to take care of themselves. So for those who are not on a college track, it's a very different world because their options seem so limited. There was a time in which the military represented an option. Now that's changed significantly. The military essentially says, you know, we have multi-million-dollar parts that we entrust in the hands of soldiers. So those soldiers have to be able to read, compute, and recognize dangerous situations. Therefore, we're going to raise our bar in this volunteer army that's going to limit those who gain entry. So the military is less of an option. The job market has changed dramatically, such that the need for post-secondary education becomes much more pressing. So kids can't just finish high school or drop out of high school and expect to be employed and use that employment as their next track into adulthood. So it's a very tough time for adolescents. So now the question is, well, what does a place like the Better Boys Foundation do, and how does it address mental health needs of kids that we serve? So I'll tell you briefly about the kinds of programs and services that we have, and then I'll talk a little bit about how we are addressing mental health needs. We see kids from roughly first grade through college. And when I say we see kids, we have created or established programs that attract kids to come in. So we're not funded to provide a particular service per se, except we have a crisis intervention contract with the state of Illinois that means that when kids show up at a police station and they report to the youth officer that they're a runaway or that their parents locked them out or kicked them out, oftentimes the police will call us and say, here's our situation. And the task is to go out and attempt to reunite the child with their family or find a suitable housing arrangement. That's a limited part of what we do. We still do a lot of educational enhancement, particularly for the kids in elementary school. We have an after-school and an out-of-school program for those kids. Those are the kids that we take on field trips that come down to places like the Art Institute and Millennium Park, etc.